All right, welcome back. We continue right here with the Sports Call presented by Ireland Contracting on the Borders and Borders Hotline. Bob Pompeani, Gene Collier, and we have the winner of our Ruth's Chris Sizzling Shot. Every time we had a hole-in-one, if you let us know who it is, we will tell you about it. And this one today goes to Bob Genst of Glengarry Golf Links. He had a 8-iron from 136 on their 15th hole, par 3. So, Bob, congratulations.
There you go, Bob.
Yeah, and you had to buy everyone drinks out there at Glengarry, so that's a rule I never understood. If you are the guy who's providing a hole-in-one, they should buy you the drinks. It shouldn't be the other way around.
That's
but for
why
some
I never
reason,
get them.
I'm glad I haven't gotten any. That's a high five from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at 6 PPG Place downtown, home of the sizzling steak, done right. And speaking of the $5 million challenge with the Meadows today, I just want to give a shout-out to my colleague Rich Walsh, because he wasn't a pro, but he played like Ron. He shot a 72 even par. That's just 7 off what would have been first prize, that Johnson won out of Wheeling. He shot 65. Rich shot a 72. Wow. He was really good.
Go,
he's not here a lot, and you can understand why. He's out playing and harnessing his golf game, no doubt. All right, let's go to the lines here. We'll get some reaction from Pete in Squirrel Hill. What's up, Pete?
Bob and Gene, how are you tonight?
What's going on?
Hey, Bob, maybe you can help me out with something. I've been wondering about this for a couple of years. All the hoopla about the home run hitting contest and the All-Star game. In this era of modern baseball, Bob, with the bat technology, the tightness of the way the ball is wound, Aaron Judge weighs 280 pounds. John Carlos Stanton weighs 255, 260. How come those guys can come nowhere near the balls that Mickey Mantle used to hit over 60 years ago? He hit one batting left-handed in Griffith Park, Bob, measured at 551, and hit one hitting right-handed over the left-hand roof of Tiger Stadium, 560. Bob, he weighed 185 pounds.
You know what? I'd have to wonder about the technology or the actual yardage and foot and how they keep. Do you believe that at 561? I've never seen that from a modern-day player.
No, I haven't. I've seen. I don't think it's right to say that they don't come anywhere close. I mean, there are 450-foot home runs hit.
Yeah, but not 561. I haven't seen that even in a home run hitting contest. Have you? I can't remember. I remember at Three River Stadium there were some upper deck shots. Stargell hit one in Parc Jarry. Remember that in Montreal? Over the roof. But I don't know how far that is, and I don't know what kind of technology. They didn't have technology to measure that.
Yeah, I don't. The answer to that is I don't know.
All right, well, let's go to Howard and Carrick. I don't know either. What's up, Howard? How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my question is, it's like sports, like hockey and baseball or football. You don't hear too much of a team captain in baseball anymore. Do you think if they got back to that would help players, if they have a player they can talk to rather than the coach? Or
I think there were leaders in every locker room. I don't know if you need to have a C pointed anywhere on your, like they do in hockey. Gene, what's your take on that? Thanks for the call.
In baseball, captains tend to emerge and become acknowledged captains, and it's a rare thing. That's a good observation. I don't know how valuable it is. Like Bob says, I think, there are players in every clubhouse that people can go to. Francisco Cervelli, for example, would be one with the Pirates. So, yeah, I don't know how helpful that would be, but it's an interesting question.
We have some tweets coming in. Max Kronberg on Twitter says, Bob and Gene, is there a chance the Pirates are going to give up on Jameson Taillon either next year or this? No. I don't think they're going to give up on him. I think they still have high hopes for him. I think his success has been moderate because he's had injuries, but I also think he needs to, at age 26, start showing the kind of promise on a consistent basis that they drafted him for, Gene. He's an average pitcher based on record, but I know he's got stuff that's better than that. You saw that on display. 6 scoreless, 2-hit innings the other day against a good Phillies hitting team.
And you saw a game earlier in the season where he pitched a complete game one-hitter, which you almost never see anymore. So the Pirates aren't anywhere close to giving up on him. However, if they got an offer for him that they were intrigued by, yeah, he'd be gone. But I don't think they're anxious to give up on him, no.
I think there may be a team out there who may want some of these guys, and I'm talking about some of their core players, and that would be an interesting conversation to hear. Like you say, Taillon, let's say somebody out there recognizes that he's struggling a little bit, he's still got great talent, and they'd be willing to give you something for a guy they need and believe could maybe turn into something really quickly good.
The Pirates have no top-of-the-rotation starters. They have potential, but they do have back of the rotation starters, and somebody might find one or two of them useful. Yeah.
Z on Twitter, Gene, wants to know what Gene Collier would do to make major changes to improve baseball. What would you do, Gene?
Well, how long have you got? We only have 15 minutes to go in the show. I would start by outlawing the shift, and I would have the new defensive alignments require that you have two infielders on each side of second base, and that you keep all the infielders on the dirt. Nobody can play short right field like in softball. I would move the pitching rubber back a foot, maybe 2 feet. I would, have the umpires enforce the rules. I know that's a really radical situation, and I would do even more extreme things. I would change the nature of at bats to three balls is a walk, 2 strikes is a strikeout. I would really accelerate the game.
That's interesting. Yep. Let me ask you this just to play devil's advocate. You said get rid of the shift. Mm-hmm. It is kind of crazy when you see a second baseman almost in right field.
Not almost.
Deep right field
yeah.
making a play.
Right.
However, let's say they keep it. Isn't the onus on the team that's batting to try to beat the shift? Like we saw Polanco lay down a good bunt, and he just took it. It was wide open down the third baseline. Nobody was there. He bunted, and he had an easy hit. He could have maybe even gone to second the way things are going there. What about doing that on a regular basis to make them realize the shift may not be a good move?
When teams first started to shift, Bob, I said that eventually hitters will take the hit that you're giving to them, but they never did. I thought it would take 5 years. It's been more than 5 years. But the shift doesn't just take away from the offense. It forces hitters, and if they're not going to just bunt the other way or take the hit that they're given, they're trying to hit the ball over the shift. That's why you see so much more emphasis on launch angle, and combined with the increased velocity of the pitchers, batters are swinging at much higher pitches. That's why they're striking out in record numbers. At the same time, they're trying to drive up the opposition's pitch count. That's why they're walking in record numbers, and that's why there's a record low of balls in play, which translates to action. All of these analytical preparations, even though they are logically right, are slowing the game to a crawl.
It is, and we saw a 4-hour and 30-minute 9-inning game at PNC Park the other day. All right, let's go to John, and wherever you are, John, it doesn't say a location. How are you?
Yeah, thanks, Scott, for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, back in 1960, Mickey Mantle hit a ball over right center field in the exit gate. The only guy to do it right-handed. All the people played at Ford's Field. And then getting back to Gene's question about shift away, that's part of the game where you play your defense.
Yeah, but now it's a shift on steroids. They're doing things that you never saw people do in the past. I'm telling you, I saw Jose Altuve the other day. He was almost at the wall in right field, retrieving a ball. He's a second baseman. I mean, that's what Gene's talking about. It's gotten a little too radical. But thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We got to go to a break. We have Alex, Angelo, and Derek on the line. We'll get back with more of your calls. Reminder that Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters. And we'll be right back after this.